Don't you see that that's kind of the thing, Director Wray, that you preside over the FBI that has the lowest level of trust in the FBI's history? People trusted the FBI more when J. Edgar Hoover was running the place than when you are. And the reason is because you don't give straight answers. You give answers that later a court deems aren't true. And then at the end of the day, you won't criticize an obvious shakedown when it's directly in front of us. And it appears as though you're whitewashing the conduct of corrupt people.
Respectfully, Congressman, in your home state of Florida, the number of people applying to come work for us and devote their lives working for us is up over 100%.
We're deeply proud of them, and they deserve better than you.
Damn! The congressman calling out the FBI Director Christopher Wray. He totally deserved it. Congressman Matt Gaetz was amazing that day. He was also pretty good when he filled in on the Greg Kelly show. Did you see that a couple of weeks ago? He might have been almost too good at that assignment. Just kidding. Congressman Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, joins us once again. Congressman, great to see you, and well done, seriously, on this show and with Christopher Wray. Were you satisfied with that session?
Far more satisfied with the Greg Kelly Reports team than with the answers I got from Director Wray. It's interesting that the one fact he seemed to know was an obscure recruiting piece of data from Florida. He didn't know basic questions about how many times the FBI broke the law on his watch. And we hear time and again this promise of change, but every time a court or an inspector general or a congressional committee looks under the hood, we see how rotten it is with far too many of them. Just this past week, I was taking the deposition of the former head of the foreign intelligence group that was called the FIDF, and she said that everyone there had the ability to query U.S. persons in the 702 database, and they didn't even require approval to do it. That's how pervasive the violation of all of our rights has become.
Yeah, you know, when he hit you with that thing about recruitment in Florida, it was like, yeah, he was ready. He was going to show you. He was going to show you. So he actually had staff do work to track down that data. It was ridiculous on his part. Very well handled. Look, what are you going to do about this Jack Smith? I mean, it's getting out of control. Looks like he's on the eve of indicting President Trump again. I hear you got something cooking.
I think every member of Congress should join my legislation to defund the Jack Smith investigation. And I don't need Jack Smith to tell me what happened on January 6th. I was there. I saw President Trump encourage people to peacefully and patriotically go to places where permits had been reserved with city government for lawful protest activity. And while anyone who did harm to police certainly deserves to be held accountable for that, you had so many Americans who had barriers taken down in front of them, and they didn't know that they were committing some technical violation of federal criminal law. Now Jack Smith is trying to weaponize the U.S. government against not just President Trump, but against our entire political movement. That's what people need to understand. This isn't even really about President Trump. It's about the fact that there are tens of millions of us who demand better from our current government than we're getting. And when we stand up for it, we're called domestic terrorists and extremists and nationalists. And the reality is we want a great country for everyone. I don't expect my legislation will pass, but I think every American deserves to know where their member of Congress is counted because, Greg, Congress has equities at play here. This is not some legitimate law enforcement operation. This is election interference with a presidential federal election, and I think Congress ought to be saying more.
Yeah. You know, one thing about the appointment of Jack Smith, it says right in the regulation, we looked it up, that he's supposed to be impartial. When you have a wife who's doing projects with Michelle Obama, that's great, but you can't be the special prosecutor. And what do you make of this federal law, this catch-all, 18 U.S.C. 241, conspiracy against rights? It's very general. It's somewhat vague. The way I read it, if two people yell, "shut up," at someone else, you might be in trouble. And it seems like a very dangerous, very much open to abuse. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Well, you'll remember the honest services doctrine was clipped by the U.S. Supreme Court because of vagueness, and the conduct wouldn't necessarily be definable and put a potential defendant on requisite notice. I think the reason that law was passed was so that like the EPA and the Department of Agriculture couldn't conspire to deprive you of your property rights. That type of an application would be more warranted than trying to use it to resolve a political dispute with someone who is engaged in lawful political speech in a forum by the way, that was constitutionally contemplated. Everybody acts like January 6th required us all to be conveyor belts. Time and again, Democrats objected to states, to elections. I mean, I think the last time a Republican got sworn in, absent some Democrat objection to electors, it was George H.W. Bush. And so this was a forum to make a point, to make an argument. That's what it should have been. And criminalizing that argument really goes along with the Democrat strategy to deprive people of ballot access. Remember, this charge, this indictment isn't an end unto itself. The goal is to try to do some tortured backflip into a 14th Amendment claim and then say, well, Trump may not be eligible to be on the ballot in certain states. So for the sake of democracy and the republic, the real goal is to deprive us of our choice on the ballot for President of the United States.
Isn't it amazing? It's so much more sinister. Really, I mean, it's psychological projection. You know, they're guilty of what they're accusing our side of doing. Real quick, Matt Gaetz, 15 seconds. Ron DeSantis, what's going on there? You think there's any pulling out of this nosedive he seems to be in?
I worked hard to get Ron DeSantis elected governor of Florida in 2018, and I loved the days when Donald Trump was my president, when Ron DeSantis was my governor, when I got to serve the people of North Florida in Congress, and I may get those days again very soon, and I look forward to them. Truly, Greg, you're an absolute gentleman of a guy to let me come and take the reins with this audience I know you love and care about so much, and you've got the best team in all of television. Working with them was a blast.
All right. Thank you very much. Easy for you to say. He just drops by. Everybody's happy. It's one day. Yikes. No, it's great. And we beat CNN the week before and the week after, but you kept the track going, and we appreciate it so much.
I was just carrying the baton for you, buddy. Just carrying the baton for my short leg of the race.
You're welcome back anytime, believe me. And thank you, Congressman Gaetz. Matt, if I may, thank you very much. We'll be right back.